Venice, the floating city that once ran the world's economy. Before we dive in, welcome to the Passport. This isn't your typical travel channel. We don't just walk the streets of old cities, we decode them. Every week we uncover the hidden economic stories behind the world's most iconic places, the trade routes, the currencies, the empires built not just with armies but with ledgers, markets, and ambition. Because history isn't just what happened, it's how money moved, who controlled it, and what they built with it. So grab your passport. Today we're headed to a city that didn't just float on water, it floated on wealth. This city of gondolas and carnival masks, of quiet canals and worn stone bridges, once pulled the strings of global trade. For centuries, if you wanted silk from China, spices from India, or gold from Africa, you paid Venice. This wasn't just a beautiful city, it was a system, a machine, a financial empire on stilts. But how did a tiny cluster of islands in a swamp become the banker of Europe? Let's go back. The origin, a city born in water and war, Venice wasn't founded the way most great cities are. No royal decree, no military conquest. It began out of fear. Around the 5th century, as the Western Roman Empire collapsed and wave after wave of barbarian invasions swept across northern Italy, people fled the mainland. They ran, not towards safety, but into the marshes, into the mud, the lagoon, the last place an invading army would follow. And there, standing on unstable ground, they built. Wooden poles were driven deep into the silt, supporting shacks, then houses, then churches. What began as a desperate refuge turned into a settlement, a weird, risky, and stubborn experiment in survival. But it had one crucial advantage: geography. Venice was awkwardly perfect, shielded by water, hidden in fog, yet close enough to the Adriatic Sea to trade. And trade was everything. Early Venetians fished, harvested salt, and ferried goods. By the 9th century, they were already playing middleman between the Byzantine Empire and Western Europe. Timber, wheat, glass, silk, it all moved through Venetian hands, and they took their cut. This wasn't a city of kings, it was a city of deals. While other European cities were tangled in feudalism, Venice was building a different kind of power, one based on contracts, trust, ships, and speed. They didn't need land. They had the sea, the Golden Age, Venice as a merchant empire. By the 13th century, Venice had become something else entirely. Not just a wealthy city, but a financial engine. It was a republic, ruled not by a king, but by a council of merchant elites. The Doge, the highest official, was elected. But let's not romanticize it. Power still lived in the hands of the rich. The difference was these rich people didn't just hoard gold, they built systems to make it move faster. Venice's empire wasn't carved by swords, it was charted on ledgers. Their ships, thousands of them, crisscrossed the Mediterranean, reaching Constantinople, Alexandria, Acre, Cyprus, even as far as India through indirect routes. These weren't pirate crews, they were organized fleets, often financed by joint investments. And here's where Venice changed the game. They pioneered financial tools that look eerily modern. Letters of credit, so merchants didn't have to carry bags of gold across pirate-infested waters. Bills of exchange, maritime insurance, public debt markets. The Rialto district became Europe's early financial center, like Wall Street with more silk and fewer spreadsheets. They even used early forms of joint stock companies. You could buy into a trading voyage the way you might invest in a startup today. Profit was shared, risk was pooled, it was venture capitalism, Venetian style, and they made sure those ventures paid off. Venice controlled key choke points in the Mediterranean. They didn't just move goods, they taxed them, managed them, marked them up. A ship might carry saffron from the east and sell it in Europe for 20 times the price. The profit didn't just enrich a captain, it built palaces, funded navies, shaped policy. This system minted merchants who became more powerful than princes. And let's talk about one of them, Marco Polo. Not just a traveler, but the son of a merchant dynasty. His journey to the Mongol court wasn't just adventure, it was business, trade opportunities, diplomacy, intelligence gathering. His stories lit a fire under European imaginations, sure, but they also confirmed something Venice already knew. The East was the future and Venice held the keys. They called her the Queen of the Adriatic, and she wore the crown well. The decline, when the world got bigger. But no empire stays on top forever, and Venice's fall didn't come from a single enemy. It came from a changing world. First, the Ottomans. In 1453, they took Constantinople. That alone changed everything. It was more than just a city, it was the gateway between Europe and Asia. Venice lost not only a trade partner, but a corridor of influence, and the Ottomans didn't stop there. They expanded aggressively. Suddenly, Venetian colonies in the eastern Mediterranean weren't trade posts, they were targets. Naval battles followed, embargoes, ransoms. Venice held its ground, but the game was shifting. Then came Portugal. While Venice fought to hold the old trade routes, Portuguese sailors were busy discovering new ones around the Cape of Good Hope. Direct to India, no middleman required. That killed Venice's edge. The very geography that once gave it power, the narrow Adriatic, the gateway role, became a trap. Trade was going global, and Venice was stuck in a local loop. Then came plague. The Black Death hit Venice hard, again and again. By the end of the 14th century, half the city was dead. Entire guilds vanished. Labor markets collapsed. Consumer demand cratered. Even the best financial system can't function when its people are gone. Venice limped on, innovating where it could. They leaned into luxury, Murano glass, fine fabrics, high-end art. They became tastemakers. But they were no longer the storehouse of the world's goods. They were a boutique, not a bank. And when Napoleon marched in at the end of the 18th century, there wasn't even a real fight. The Republic of Venice, one of the oldest in the world, simply ended. Not with a war, with a signature. Modern echoes, the ghost of a global economy. Today, Venice is still here, still floating, still beautiful, but also visibly tired. The population has dropped. The buildings sink a little more every year. The city floods more often than ever before. Tourists outnumber residents by absurd ratios. And many Venetians have left, not just for affordability, but because the economy they once powered doesn't exist here anymore. But the echoes remain. Walk through the Rialto and you're walking through the bones of an ancient stock exchange. Step inside certain buildings and you'll find the architecture of banks older than most modern nations. Venice's fingerprint is on modern finance, trade, and capitalism, even if the city itself feels like a living museum. Every time a credit card processes across borders, every time goods are financed in one country and shipped to another, you're seeing the legacy of what Venice built. A city that proved wealth didn't need land, that power could be bought and sold, that information, contracts, and cooperation could create an empire just as strong as any army ever could. But it's also a cautionary tale. Venice got rich by managing connections. But when the connections shifted, when new routes bypassed the old paths, it didn't adapt fast enough. Its systems, once revolutionary, became relics. Its influence, once global, got stuck in a rising tide. And now the city that once ran the world's economy is fighting to stay above water, literally. Still, it's hard not to admire what was built here. In the stones, the bridges, the quiet moments when the canals are still, and the ghosts of merchants seem to whisper from behind the windows. Venice teaches us that cities are not just places, they're systems, stories, equations of people, place, and power, and when those variables line up just right, even a patch of swamp can rule the world. So next time you're in Venice, look past the postcards. You're standing on the ruins of the world's first global economy,